How's it going, super friends? Welcome back to my channel. I'm Brad, the DC Universe Geek, in case you didn't know. And today I'm just going to cut right to the chase and just address the title. Should DC fans watch Avengers Endgame? So I'm going to start off by saying yes. Automatically, it's an unequivocal yes. I've made no hidden, veiled attempts to keep this a secret that as a big DC fan, a lifelong DC fan, I'm also a Marvel fan. Not nearly as much as DC, trust me. I have almost no Marvel merchandise, so, putting my money where my mouth is, it's obvious who I'm a larger fan of. I just relate to DC a whole lot more than Marvel. But for some people, Marvel is their jam and it's not DC. I happen to like both. And I'm not a fan of when DC fans just refuse to go and see Marvel movies, and when people who are Marvel fans refuse to go and see DC movies, and they kind of pit themselves one against the other like it's some kind of war that doesn't really need to be happening. The friendly competition from across the street is just fine. Coke and Pepsi, Ford and Chevy, you need to have that competition, the friendly competition. But when things start to get belligerent, when people start to draw battle lines that are actually poisonous and detrimental to the comic book community or the superhero fandom community in general, that's where I draw the line and say, grow up and get a life. You can be a fan of both. You can like one better, or you can like them equal, but you can be a fan of both. So, as a DC fan, someone who went to see Avengers Endgame, I thought it was amazing. I think that Marvel really excels with their movies. I feel like they've got a formula, they have a way that they do it. There's a certain amount of humor, a certain amount of intensity. The plot consistently with their movies will build and build and build and hit that apex, and then there'll be the victory, or there'll be the peak of the story, and then it kind of peters. They follow the basic rules of storytelling very well. It's very palatable, it's very easy to watch, but that doesn't mean that their movies are just basic trash. There is a level of depth to Marvel movies that, if there wasn't, people wouldn't be going back to watch them. They're fun, and you're invested in the characters. Every one of the actors in the Marvel universe, in their film universe, I'm invested in. Chris Evans as Steve Rogers, I love to watch that character, and I've been there with him the entire time, watching Iron Man, Thor, the Hulk. All these characters go through their character growth and arcs. I found these characters to be endearing, and I've been right there with them the whole time. Marvel has done an exceptional job. And so, with Avengers Endgame, I feel like to tie all the loose ends up and to kind of bring this wonderful movie universe to a close that they've given to the fans, comic fans, movie fans, kids, old and young alike, I feel like Avengers Endgame is the perfect movie to do it. Now let me get into just a few of the reasons why, without completely spoiling it. For one, there were moments of levity, moments of humor, moments that relieved the tension of this. Don't fool yourself, this was a very serious, heavy movie at times as well, dealing with very serious Marvel Universe time-altering, kind of stuff. And so that levity worked perfectly. There was the right amount of jokes, usually, with Paul Rudd Ant-Man or the Hulk or with Thor. And there's definitely some really funny things that I don't want to spoil them for you, but there's definitely some really humorous aspects to all three of those characters, things that are revealed later on in the movie about these characters. They really are a lot of fun. And the same thing with when other characters, when they pop up onto the screen for the first time later on in the movie, there's that feeling of, yeah, like they're here and they're saying something funny right at the perfect time so that it's not just heavy and dark. And I feel like that is the way to go. So I feel like Marvel has excelled with that yet again, with this movie. Kind of like Gimli and Legolas in the Lord of the Rings saga. They usually had some humor that kind of popped in at the right minute. Like, do you remember when Gimli and Legolas were standing there at the Battle of Minas Tirith and Legolas says, "Would you like me to get you a box to stand on?" It's stuff like that Marvel really excels at, bringing the humor in at the right time. And Avengers Endgame is no change to that rule. But with that, to match the serious tone, there were also some moments in the movie where, I kid you not, you could hear a pin drop in that theater. The audience was so captivated by what they were watching. There were moments where it took your breath away, where you had to stop. There were moments where people were crying. There were some tearjerker moments in the movie. I was invested in the characters 100% for the whole movie. And I went through the ups and I went through the downs, all with the characters as they were written for us. That Marvel, with this movie, I feel like it is one of the best movies that they have put out to date. Now, one of the big questions about Avengers concerning Brie Larson, because there's been a lot of controversy about Brie Larson, let's be honest, ever since Captain Marvel came out. Without ruining it for you, I'll just say that Brie Larson does have a presence in the movie, but she doesn't take it over. This is not a Captain Marvel movie. This isn't Captain Marvel and her biatches, that's not what this movie's about. There is a moment where she kind of comes in and kind of helps with the turning of the tide with the rest of the team, but she isn't what causes them to win. She just kind of shows up and does her thing, and then she's out again, right? So Brie Larson is not overpowering in the movie. She doesn't take it over. But when you get to the end of the movie, and I'm not sure if you would call this a spoiler or not. I think a lot of people know, so if you're really afraid this is going to be a spoiler, just click away now. Okay, I left you some time. You can really kind of see how they're planning to set up the future of the Marvel Universe, the next phase of Marvel Studios film universe. You can really see what they're planning on doing. And it's evident. I mean, I'm not spoiling it when I say that Chris Evans is done. And so, I mean, there's going to be no more Tony Stark Iron Man. There's going to be no Steve Rogers Captain America in the Marvel Studios. That is done. Unless they completely reboot everything, that's done. Because there's definitely some handing over of the torches by the end of the movie. You can really see what they're trying to set up. And to me, it becomes very much evident, amongst other things, that Brie Larson is absolutely going to be in the next phase of the Marvel Universe. I mean, she's been signed for like a certain number of movies anyway. We all know that if you've been kind of keeping up on that. So they did a great job of kind of bringing this era, this section of Marvel movies kind of to a close. They've honored all the people that played these characters for many, many years, and then ushering in the new generation of Marvel movies. So, listen, as a DC fan, going back to the question, should a DC fan go and watch Avengers Endgame? Yes, for multiple reasons. It was a great movie. You're going to get your money's worth. Absolutely. If you walk out of the theater thinking it's trash, and I guess there's always people that are like, it's trash, I don't like it, movie snobs out there. But I would say, like, a huge part of the average movie-going public and basic comic book fans, the people that aren't completely comic snoots, the people that are like, that's not exactly completely comic accurate. Listen, I get it, okay? I love my comics too, but just accept that the movies are their own thing. As a DC fan, I think you'll enjoy this. I think that you will totally come out of the theater feeling like you got your money's worth, and it was just a great time. Not only that, if you have people that are DC fans, other DC fans knitting in your ear telling you not to go see Avengers Endgame because what are you doing? You can't watch a Marvel movie. You're a DC fan, because I know those people exist. You tell them that Brad the DC Universe Geek says to get a life, because it's a great movie. And if they don't go watch it, heck, that's their loss, because they're only missing a movie that I'm sure that they would probably really enjoy, all because they're trying to stay loyal to their side of the fence. Coke or Pepsi, their own section of fandom. Anyway, that is my simple rambling in front of the camera review of Avengers Endgame. Tried to keep it as spoiler-free as I could, and it answers the question as posed in the title. Should a DC fan go and see Avengers Endgame? Coming from Brad the DC Universe Geek, abso-frickin-lutely. It was fantastic.